Have you ever listened to a conversation, an audiobook, or a movie in English and felt completely lost? Don't worry, you're not alone. Developing strong listening skills is one of the toughest challenges for anyone learning a new language, especially English. But here's the good news. I'm going to walk you through some practical, effective ways to improve your listening skills fast. By the time we're done, you'll have a solid plan to boost your ability to understand native speakers, follow real conversations, and feel more confident when using English. So, let's dive right in and get started. Let's begin with a simple idea. Start by listening to things you already know well. One mistake many learners make is jumping into complicated audio, like fast-paced podcasts or movies with tricky dialogue, way too soon. Instead, try starting with content where you recognize at least 95% of the words. Why does this work? When you're familiar with most of the vocabulary, your brain doesn't have to work overtime figuring out meanings. It can focus on catching how words sound, picking up the tone, and getting used to natural speech rhythms. For example, you could listen to beginner-friendly conversations, podcasts made for learners, or even audio versions of stories you've read before. This builds a strong foundation because familiarity makes you feel more comfortable and confident over time. Now, let's talk about using simplified audiobooks. Audiobooks are amazing for sharpening your listening skills since they let you concentrate fully on the language without distractions like visuals. But here's the trick. Don't dive into audiobooks meant for native speakers right away. Those can be overwhelming with their advanced vocabulary and quick narration. Go for simplified audiobooks designed for language learners instead. These use easier words and slower speeds, so you can follow along without feeling lost. Even better, try listening while reading the text at the same time. When you hear and see the words together, it strengthens your memory and helps you spot those words in conversations later. Imagine listening to a short story about daily life, hearing simple sentences like, "She walks to the park every morning," and seeing them written down. It's a small step that makes a big difference. Another great way to train your ears is by watching films or TV shows. This is not only fun but also powerful for getting used to how people really speak. Start by watching with English subtitles, not your native language, so you can link the spoken words to what's written. After that, watch the same scenes again without subtitles. This pushes you to rely on your ears alone, which might feel tough at first, but it's worth it. For example, you could pick a favorite movie, like a comedy or an adventure film, and watch a short clip with subtitles to catch the dialogue. Then replay it without them, pausing to repeat tricky lines out loud. Over weeks or months, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to understand real-life chats, whether it's friends talking or coworkers catching up. Consistency matters a lot when you're working on listening skills. Make it a habit to practice every day, even if it's just for 30 minutes. You don't need hours, just steady effort. You could listen to a podcast while making breakfast, an audiobook during a walk, or a news clip before bed. The key is to stay active while you listen. Don't just let the sound wash over you. Repeat sentences you hear, summarize the main points in your head, or jot down new words to look up later. Let's say you're listening to a podcast about travel. After hearing a tip like pack light to save time, try saying it yourself or writing it down. This turns passive listening into active learning, and that's where the real progress happens. If you're wondering where to find good listening material, there are some fantastic websites out there. BBC Learning English is perfect for learners because it offers audio with transcripts you can follow. LinkU.org has thousands of free listening exercises tailored to different levels. For something more advanced, TED Talks come with subtitles to help you keep up with inspiring talks on all kinds of topics. And LibriVox provides free audiobooks in English, from classic novels to short stories. Try them out and see what clicks for you. Maybe start with a 5-minute BBC clip about daily life or a TED Talk on something you love, like technology or nature. Now, let's shift gears and talk about motivation, because without it, even the best listening tips won't stick. Have you ever started learning English full of energy, only to feel stuck a few weeks later? It's normal to lose steam sometimes. The secret to pushing through is having a strong reason to keep going. Motivation isn't just about willpower. It's about knowing why English matters to you. Let me share some stories from other learners to show you what I mean. One person I know loves historical books, and since the best ones are in English, they're driven to read them without relying on translations. Another dreams of coaching tennis professionally, and English is their ticket to working with players worldwide. Someone else wants a job at a global company where English opens up opportunities in business or travel. These reasons keep them going, and you need to find yours too. Maybe it's connecting with new people, watching movies without subtitles, or landing a dream job. Once you've got your reason, set some clear goals to stay on track. Learning English without goals is like wandering around with no map. You'll get lost. Break it into steps you can actually measure. For a short-term goal, aim to learn 10 new words a week, like hope, journey, or effort. For a midterm goal, work toward holding a 5-minute chat with a native speaker, maybe about your day or a hobby. For a long-term goal, think big, like passing an English test or using English at work. Goals give you direction and let you see how far you've come. Imagine ticking off 10 words learned after a week. It feels good and keeps you motivated. To make motivation last, weave English into your everyday life. Don't treat it like homework. Make it part of what you already enjoy. If you're into fitness, listen to English workout podcasts while you exercise. Love cooking? Watch recipe videos in English, first with subtitles, then without. You could even record yourself speaking about your day. Like, today, I made a great pasta dish. And play it back to hear your progress. When English feels natural and fun, you won't have to force yourself to practice. It just happens. I remember when I started watching cooking shows in English, I'd repeat phrases like stir gently or add a pinch of salt, and soon I was saying them without thinking. Surrounding yourself with English speakers can also fire up your motivation. The more you hear and use the language, the quicker you'll improve. Look for online conversation groups where you can chat about anything from movies to travel. Make friends who speak English, even if it's just messaging at first. If you can, visit places where English is spoken and soak it in. Ordering coffee or asking for directions is great practice. Once I joined an online group discussing favorite books, and just listening to others talk about stories I loved pushed me to join in, even with simple comments like, "I liked the ending." Motivation can dip, but consistency is what counts. Even on days when you're not feeling it, do something small. Watch a short video, read a paragraph, or say a few sentences aloud. Successful learners aren't always the ones who study the hardest. They're the ones who keep showing up. Think of it like exercise. A quick walk is better than nothing, and over time, those small efforts add up to big results. Next, let's tackle vocabulary, because knowing more words makes everything easier. Listening, speaking, reading, you name it. Imagine understanding 3,000 of the most common English words. How much smoother would conversations feel? A lot of learners try to build vocabulary by memorizing long lists, but does that really work? It can, but only up to a point. When you're starting out, lists are handy for basic words like house, car, apple, or teacher. They're simple and give you a quick foundation, but as you move past the basics, lists lose their magic. Words aren't just definitions. They shift depending on how they're used. Take the word run, for example. It could mean jogging, like he runs every morning, managing something, as in she runs a small shop, or working, like the fan is running quietly. If you only learn run =, move fast from a list, you'll miss its full power. Native speakers don't memorize lists. They pick up words from life, books, talks, TV shows. So, learning in context is the way to go. When you hear run in a story about someone rushing to work, then again in a business podcast, it starts to stick naturally. Repetition is your best friend for remembering words. Ever notice how a new word pops up everywhere once you learn it? That's your brain locking it in through exposure. To make this happen, dive into English. Read articles on topics you care about, watch shows or videos, listen to podcasts. Say you're reading about travel and see adventure a few times. Once in a big adventure awaits, then in an adventurous trip. Hearing it again in a video about hiking seals the deal. Your brain connects the dots, and soon adventure is yours. Here's a plan to learn those 3,000 words the smart way. Start with a basic list of the 1,000 most common words. Things like time, people, work, to get a solid base. Then shift to context. Read short stories, listen to interviews, and notice new words in action. Keep a little notebook or app for words you spot often, like explore or challenge. Review them with flashcards, adding sentences like, I want to explore new places to see how they fit. Finally, use them yourself. Say them in conversations, write them in messages, make them yours. I tried this with hope. Read it in a book, heard it in a song, then said, I hope it's sunny tomorrow. Now it's second nature. Speaking of using English, let's talk about confidence in conversations. Have you ever wanted to join a chat but froze because you might mess up? Maybe you're at work, a cafe, or with friends, and nerves stop you cold. I've been there, and it's frustrating, but confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about feeling okay with giving it a shot. Native speakers stumble too. Yet they keep talking? The trick is to start small and build up, so speaking feels less scary and more natural. Begin with easy small talk. You don't need fancy words, just everyday phrases. Try a greeting. Good morning, how's your day going? Or an observation, it's so quiet here today, isn't it? Or a question, did you have a good weekend? Practice these with a friend or even alone in front of a mirror. At work, I used to say, busy day today, huh? To coworkers, and it got easier every time. Small talk breaks the ice and gets you comfortable with real people, whether it's a quick hello or a chat about the weather. Nervousness is normal, but you can tame it. Before you speak, take a deep breath. It calms your mind and steadies your voice. Slow down your words. Rushing makes you more anxious and harder to understand. Smiling helps too. It relaxes you and makes the other person feel at ease. I remember feeling shaky before asking a question in English, but breathing and smiling turned it into, can you help me with this? Simple and clear. The more you speak, the less those nerves control you. The biggest trap is waiting until you're ready to talk. Confidence doesn't come from sitting back. It grows when you act. Challenge yourself. For 1 week, start a tiny conversation daily. Say, nice weather today to a neighbor. Ask a coworker, how's your project going? Or tell a friend, I watched a cool movie last night. Each time you do, you're proving you can. I started with, good coffee here, right? At a cafe, and soon I was chatting without overthinking. Lastly, let's tackle accents because they can throw you off. Ever talked to someone and felt like you're hearing a whole new language? Maybe you're fine with American or British English, but a Scottish, Australian, or Indian accent trips you up. I heard a story about a student working at a cafe who faced this. A Scottish customer said, all right, mate, can I get a wee cappuccino to go? The student caught cappuccino but missed the rest. Accents change sounds, rhythms, even words, and it's tough if you're not used to it. Even native speakers struggle with new accents sometimes, so don't feel bad. The student was flustered and told their boss, I couldn't understand him at all. The boss said it's normal. Your brain needs time to adjust if you've only heard one kind of English. But here's the thing. With practice, your ears get sharper. The student asked their teacher for help and got 3 solid tips. First, listen to all sorts of accents. Watch Scottish comedians, Australian travel vlogs, or Indian news clips. Second, zero in on key words. If you hear cappuccino to go, that's enough to get by. Third, ask politely for repeats. Could you say that again, please? Or, sorry, I missed that. Can you repeat it? These keep the talk flowing without awkwardness. To get better at accents, dive into variety. Start with common ones, American, British, Australian, Canadian, and listen to how they sound different. A British schedule versus an American schedule is a small but real shift. Then, explore others, Scottish, Irish, Indian, through movies or podcasts. I watched a Scottish detective show with subtitles first, then without, and caught phrases like wee bit over time. Try shadowing too. Mimic what you hear, copying the tone and flow. It's like singing along to a song. Funny at first, but it works. Don't stress about catching every word, just aim for the gist. If you're lost, a quick, can you say that slower, helps, and most people don't mind. Accents take patience, but the more you hear them, the less they'll stump you. I struggled with an Australian friend saying mate and no worries, but after a few chats, it clicked. So, there you have it. Ways to boost your listening: stay motivated, grow your vocabulary, speak confidently, and handle accents. Start with familiar audio and build up with audiobooks and movies. Keep your motivation alive with goals and daily habits. Learn words in context and use them often. Speak up, even just a little, to beat the nerves. And tune your ears to accents with practice. English is a journey, not a race. Stick with it, and you'll get there. Thanks for sticking with me, and keep up the great work on your English adventure.